I'm Dennis House. We begin today with an exclusive interview with the former Republican candidate for governor, Bob Stefanowski. In his judgment, what does he think Governor Ned Lamont is doing wrong? We'll ask him, and he's here now with us. Mr. Stefanowski, good to see you.
Great to see you, Dennis.
We had you on the program right after the election, and you said that you wished Governor Lamont well, you met with him, and that you were going to step back from any criticism of him, but that has now changed. What led to that change?
Well, I think the key point was when the toll reversal happened, and that was kind of let go on a holiday weekend on a Saturday morning. That was a pretty direct reversal on a campaign promise. But I think the bigger issue, Dennis, is we had 8 years under Dan Malloy of tax and spend, anti-business regulation, and we ended up with one of the largest deficits of any state in the country, and the early indications are that we're going to have another 4 years of that. We had 650,000 people that voted for us on lowering taxes and getting this economy moving, and I owe it to them to speak out when I see it.
Put yourself in his position right now. If you were governor right now, what would you be doing?
Cutting cost. I mean, I think that's where it starts. We've got a budget that was rolled out with a 1.5% increase in the first year, 2.5% in the second year. There's no way, whether it's a household, whether it's a business, or whether it's the state of Connecticut, that you couldn't find at least 5% of cost savings. Do that first. And if you clean your own house up and then have to come to the taxpayers for more revenue, do that second. But we immediately jumped to taking more money from taxpayers.
Isn't tolls one of those things, it's sort of money that the state should be getting, because we do pay tolls to Massachusetts and New York and even in Rhode Island in some spots, and we're one of the few states that doesn't have them?
The issue is the plan. I mean, there's two plans out there right now. You've got Governor Lamont's plan, which even the DOT would tell you the tolls aren't going to be in until 2022 or 2023, and it's going to cost $200 million to put them up. We all agree that we need improvements. The bridges are collapsing. But what are we going to do for the next 4 years where those tolls are being put up? You've got a Republican plan that Len Fasano and Themis have put together that fixes it now. Prioritized progress. We use money that's already been bonded, and we start to fix the roads and bridges now. The two plans are very different, but I know what one I'd go with.
In your judgment, do you think this is the biggest mistake the governor has made?
I think it's not looking at the cost line first. I've got to say it again, Dennis. I mean, there's got to be $1 billion of savings in this budget. To go in and look at the budget and say we've already cut as much as we can, and if you have any ideas on where to cut, that's not leadership. You need to take cost out, you need to look at your backyard first, and then go after the revenue things if you need it.
What about some of the other things he's been doing and been talking about?
Well, the increase in the minimum wage, paid family medical leave, you're already seeing some reaction from small and mid-sized business in Connecticut that's the straw that's going to break the camel's back, that's going to increase the cost of production, it's going to get passed down to consumers. But the toll is the big one right now. To take another $1 billion, regardless of how much of that comes from out of state, it's at least $600 million coming out of the taxpayers of Connecticut for something that's not going to show benefits for 4 years. We can't afford to do that right now.
What kind of advice would you give Republicans and people in Connecticut, if they are opposed to tolls, to try to stop them?
I would say keep vocal. I mean, there was the vote this week. It came out of committee, and it was along party lines. Republicans voted against it. Democrats on the committee voted for it. But if you watch closely, a lot of the Democrats that voted for this proposal going to the legislature, they had some reservations too, and they said, we're moving it to the next step, but we want to see more. We want to see how many gantries they are. We want to see what the cost per mile is going to be. We want to see how long it's going to take to implement it. So this fight is not over. We expected it to pass committee, and you've got organizations like NOTOLLSCT.org that have close to 100,000 signatures of people against this.
How would you grade the governor's performance so far? Letter grade.
I don't want to do that at this point, Dennis. You know, nothing's really been passed. I am concerned about the rhetoric. The other big issue, the elephant in the room, and we talked about it in the campaign, is the cost of state employees in our state, the $100 billion underfunded pension plan. And until you address that issue, we're never going to solve the budget problems. And we're spending too much time about outlawing plastic straws and taxing bicycle helmets and taxing cats, when the real issue in the room is how do we get the cost of that down and find a fair compromise.
You and the governor had said after the election that you'd like to work together perhaps on some things. Has he reached out to you at all? Or have you reached out to him?
We had lunch shortly after the election. I was up in Hartford for the first hearing on tolls, so we had a quick discussion. I'd love to help Dennis, but I think the early indications are that his policies are very different from the way I'd come at it. I'd love to be able to help if I could, agree with some of the things that are happening, but it's hard right now because I would have taken a very different approach.
If this path should continue, in your view, Describe to us what you think Connecticut will be like in 2 years.
I think it's going to be another repeat of the last 8 years. We've proven over the last 8 years that raising taxes doesn't work. The economy keeps going in the wrong direction. Governor Lamont is putting in one of the largest tax increases in the history of Connecticut. It's $1.4 billion in sales tax and another $1 billion in tolls. And even the Rhode Island legislature or the courts just said tolls are a tax. So he's putting in $2.4 billion of taxes. We've had enough of that. It's time to try something different. It really is.
It's never too early to start running, and some people are already saying that you're thinking about running in 2022. What are your plans?
4 years is a long time, and we shouldn't be talking about whether I'm going to run right now. We should be talking about it's a critical legislative process right now. Over the next 3 months, there's going to be a lot of things that directly impact consumers that are out there. And right now, these policies are going to come right after the middle class. We've got to be vocal against it. Governor Lamont has said he wants feedback. He wants alternate plans. The Republicans have done a great job with prioritized progress. We should get some feedback on that.
If you are governor in 2023, that would be the inauguration for the next election. Would you call for the dismantling of the gantries or the stopping of the toll program?
I would. I think with the plan right now, they're not going to be in the next 4 years. I think the next governor, whoever it is going to have to make a call on that. I would dismantle it.
Bob Stefanowski, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dennis.
Best of luck.